Hello there, I'm Arif and I live in China. So what are we talking about today? Well, just life generally in China after the removal of the COVID zero policy. Everything seems to be pretty normal at the moment. Life's getting back to normal gradually, but we'll soon get there. So I went to England about a month ago now, and I haven't been back home to England for 2.5 years because of the borders being closed. It was very, very difficult going back home, more or less impossible. Not completely impossible, because I had a friend that went home last year back to England on holiday, but the whole trip cost him, like a return flight, £10,000 English. £10,000. His school paid half the money, so they paid £5,000 towards it. But yeah, a lot of money. So yeah, not impossible to go back home last year, but yeah, very, very hard. I didn't have the money. So I did go home last month when they removed the COVID zero policy, and there was a few flights from Shanghai to England and to other parts of the world. So, and quite affordable prices, not the normal prices. I paid £1,500 for a return flight, which is very, very cheap compared to £10,000 last year. But it's still not a normal price, but hopefully by the summer things will go back to normal completely, and I can get a return flight for about £600, which is the price I used to pay. Another thing that has been lifted is the quarantine for international travel. There's no more quarantine now, so that's absolutely great. I remember the end of 2020 when I came back to China. I had to quarantine for around 2 weeks and then another week at home. So yeah, not the best. Yeah, it kind of puts you off traveling. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, that's all removed now. Like I said, I went home to England last month. A pretty smooth operation, no quarantine. Prices have dropped dramatically. The only real problem at the moment is if, say, I go home back to England, I need a negative test to enter England because I'm coming from China, and vice versa. I need a negative test from England or wherever you're from to come into China. So if you test positive, you have to keep taking the test until you get a negative test. And the tests in England are, well, I paid £80. That's a lot of money. The tests here in China are around £2. So yeah, it's a huge difference, you know what I mean? If I got a positive test last week before I came back here, I would have had to wait like a week or something, or 2 weeks or whatever, and test again. And if it was positive again, I'd have lost another £80. So yeah, I mean, it's not a huge problem, but it's it's not ideal. It's not ideal. But hopefully by the summer they'll scrap that. So no COVID tests either side. So yeah, just free to travel with no COVID tests needed. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm a bit optimistic for the summer, but as far as I know, tourism is not commencing at the moment. There's no tourism, so I don't think you can get a tourist visa to come into China. Obviously, if you've got a working visa, that's all right, or if you have a visa from years ago that's still valid, you can still come. But you can't get a new visa to come here, like for a holiday. Not yet anyway, but like I said, optimistic for the summer. Yeah, so everything's pretty back to normal at the moment. No more COVID tests before I go into work. Usually, it's a big truck. So a few months ago, we had to get a COVID test nearly every day from these nucleic acid testing booths. Sometimes every day, sometimes every 2 days, sometimes every 3 days. It just depends in the city you're in. It depends. If there was a lot of cases in your city, you'd probably have to test every day. But if there was no cases in your city, or a few, probably every 3 days get a test. But yeah, there used to be these nucleic acid testing booths everywhere, and they kind of still are everywhere, but just not in use. So yeah, but it was quite bad for me because obviously it's a special situation because I work in a different city. And obviously I live in a different city because I work in a different city. So when I got up in the morning, I used to get a COVID test, then head to school to a different city. Then because I was going to a different city, there was this new rule. If you enter a different city, you need to get another test. So I would get to school, I would have to get another test. Then when I finished school and came back to my original city, I had to get a third test because I traveled from city to city. That rule never lasted too long. I think it was like a month or something, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, at one point I was getting 3 tests a day. Mental, crazy. I'll show you the nucleic acid testing booth I used to go to outside my community. So I had to go there before I headed to work. Where is it? There it is. It's still there. It's still there. But like I said, not in use. So let's have a look at it. So this is my local nucleic acid testing booth. As you can see, there's nobody here. Nobody here. No equipment. No nothing. Abandoned. Like the Mary Celeste. So yeah, I used to queue up here. There was a huge queue. Used to give my ID here, and then when I've showed my ID, I used to come one of these windows and I used to get my test. It's usually in the mouth. So yeah, this is what a nucleic acid testing booth looks like. Nobody here, abandoned. But yeah, those are literally dotted everywhere, near every community, because like I said, most people, all people needed it to get into school, to get, you know, into their workplace. It was a must. But they're all abandoned now. Not many are in use. I don't think any are in use, I'm not really sure. Some of them have been converted to like little stalls selling food, which is pretty cool. Not all of them, but a lot of them are just still there, not in use. So now if you want a COVID test, you'd have to go to a hospital and get a proper PCR test if you want to travel outside of China. I believe Hong Kong now, if you want to travel from Hong Kong to China or China to Hong Kong, I think they have scrapped the COVID test. You don't need COVID tests for that. But if you want to go to England, for example, you need to go to a hospital here, not a testing booth, and get a proper PCR test with some kind of certificate as well. So for 3 years, it was very strict. We needed to get a COVID test nearly every day, because just to get into a supermarket or a shopping mall or go to work, we needed to show a green code on our phones. If it was red, simply we wouldn't be allowed in. So yeah, we had to show a green code everywhere we went to enter any kind of building. Even your community, sometimes your own community, which was it was a little tricky, but yeah, as long as you got a test and you were negative, it was all right. But one day, just overnight, everything was lifted. There was no restrictions. You didn't need to show a green code to get in everywhere. You didn't have to get a COVID test, literally overnight. So everyone, my neighbors, my friends, were just shocked. They were like, what do we do? So yeah, they were still a bit like, yeah, just well, shocked, because it was so serious for nearly 3 years. So they were still a little wary about going out. They were still wearing masks at the beginning, when the news first came out that everything was lifted. We were still trying to find a testing booth, a nucleic acid testing booth to get a test, but there was none. It was just like normal to go and get a test, you know. So yeah, even me, like the first few weeks, I was looking for a testing booth to get a test, but we didn't need one. It was no more. It was just normal to get one at that point. You know, for nearly 3 years, doing something for nearly 3 years becomes kind of normal, yeah. But yeah, literally overnight everything was lifted, but people were still staying like in their homes because they didn't know what to do. It was just over a sudden. It was nothing gradual, so yeah, just a little shocked. But I guess yeah, it's good in a way because, you know, everything's back to normal now, more or less. Everyone's out and about, everyone's going out for food, for meals more, you know. They're getting used to the idea of not having a test and not showing green codes. Yeah, so it's pretty cool to see people out and about, happy, enjoying themselves. Yeah, I'm going to be getting on my e-bike now, and let's see if we can find another nucleic acid testing booth. Let's go. It really does fill my heart with joy seeing happy Chinese people. It really does, because it has been hard here for 3 years for them. Obviously hard for me as well, but you know, I can go home at any point, but you know, this is their home, and it's been hard, you know, like they couldn't travel. It was hard to go out, you know, and eat in restaurants, stuff like that. If you had a positive test, you'd had to lock yourself in your house for weeks. So yeah, it's been hard for the local people here, but things are looking up, which is great. Yeah, it really does fill my heart with joy seeing happy people here. But anyway, let's go and look for another COVID nucleic acid testing booth, whatever you want to call it. I honestly love my e-bike so much. There's nothing more de-stressing than getting on an e-bike and going for a drive. It's just so nice, such a nice feeling. The wind blowing in your hair. Yeah, it's really good if you're really stressed from work or whatever. Just getting on an e-bike and driving like there's no problems in the world. I love it. I love it. Right, I've just spotted a nucleic acid testing booth here, so we'll have a look at this one. It looks a little different, but it does the same job. But yeah, again, abandoned, not in use. They used to put their hands here with gloves to protect themselves when they gave you a test. Just some seats, a mic, yeah. Abandoned, no one here. There you go. These are for the hands. Put your test here usually. And that's just a bin with some used tests. Yeah, that's a nucleic acid testing booth here in China. There you go. See, when I walk into a shopping mall now, there's no tests, no green codes needed, nothing. Just walk in. Everyone's out and about, having fun, enjoying themselves. Just heading downstairs. There's a lot of restaurants here. It's a Saturday, so it's pretty busy. Everyone's out with their families, eating, shopping, having a lovely, jubbly time. The food here smells amazing, I have to admit. Some food here. So yeah, everything's more or less back to normal. Oh, Pop Mart, I love this machine. Some really cool figures. Look at all these cool figures. Korean restaurant. Got a hot pot restaurant there, some gachapon machines, a conveyor belt hot pot restaurant. I've been to this only once, and yeah, really cool. If you like different kinds of food, you know, like a selection, go to a hot pot. You can choose whatever you want, and you get like a soup to cook it all in. Really nice. So yeah, everything's back to normal. I'm just going to go to a supermarket now to get some food shopping because I have nothing in the house, absolutely nothing, and I've got work tomorrow, so I need to get some coffee, some snacks to get me through the day. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give me a follow if you don't follow me. I post a lot of videos here in China, shopping trips, city trips, everything trips. So yeah, anyway, be good, be safe, be kind, and I'll see you on the next one. Boom!